All right, Tony,
Yes.
episode 3.
I can't believe we're here. It's insane.
I know this is going quick.
Very quick.
How are you doing today?
Today it's been good. Our socials are just booming. We're getting a lot of traction from our soup troop, which is pretty cool to see. So yeah, that's kind of been my day. How about you? How's the day been?
Yeah, day was all right. Just got a meeting, a class, pretty standard during the week for me. But yeah, loving the engagement, loving reading everybody's comments. Some of them are pretty funny and getting a lot of enjoyment out of that. So it's been good.
Again, it's so good. It's so good. So I'm super amped. Super amped.
Yeah.
So what do we have going on for today?
So today we are doing the Soup of the World segment. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's get soupy.
Let's get soupy.
All right. And in sort of to start it off with, it fits in with the theme, it fits in with the country, but we have a soup of the day.
Okay.
And I picked this soup. This is minestrone soup from Garden of Italy. And we're gonna do a quick review for you guys. Garden of Italy is a family-owned and run restaurant in Sunridge in Calgary. When I was on a placement in home care, I had an office in Sunridge, and my supervisor was a big foodie and knew all the kind of food spots around there. And he didn't get the chance to take me here, but this was one of his recommendations. So here we go.
You know what's funny is before we even get started on this, it was a hole in the wall. I think when you think of Northeast Calgary, that's usually where the best food comes from because it's always a hole in the wall. So I met up with Seamus, and lo and behold, there's like 4 cars in the parking lot, a restaurant the size of like my living room space, and it was
tiny
just
little place.
Tiny, which I'm super excited for. So yeah, here's the soup. If you guys are watching it on YouTube, we have it on there. So let's dig in.
Yeah, have a little taste.
Oh, so hearty.
That's exactly what I think of when I think of minestrone.
What is a minestrone?
It is a hearty vegetable soup. That's what it is. That's what it's been forever. Obviously coming from Italy, back in the day. It actually, I was looking up sort of the history of it, and it predates the Roman Empire. The sort of roots of minestrone. Yeah. It started out as this porridge called pulte, Pulte. I could be totally butchering that, by the way, but so it's a soup, and you would cook like a flour in some salt water, and then you would throw in whatever vegetables you have in your kitchen. And so it would be things back like before the Roman Empire, they didn't have access to a ton of vegetables. So it was things like carrots, onions, cabbage, beans, and then like turnips and something like that. And there were 2 main evolutions that really turned it into what it is today, what we're eating right now. The first was when the Roman Empire took over Italy, conquered Italy, commercialized the road networks, and that allowed a lot of food to come in. So new vegetables as well as like meats and bones that they could use to make stocks. So they ditched the flour and then brought in the stock. And so that was one layer of flavor. And then the second was the introduction of tomatoes to Italy, which I didn't know that they weren't from there. They're from the Americas.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Tomatoes are not from Italy.
No, came over in the 16th century from the Americas with potatoes. And then so that became a big feature in minestrone as well, and in terms of the stock and as well as a vegetable in some of it.
So I thought initially with minestrone, it had to have a tomato base. So that's not true then.
the roots of it, there were no tomatoes. That
Flour.
was sort of a flour cooked in salt water and whatever vegetables you had in your kitchen.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's also why you will never find the same minestrone at any restaurant, any Italian restaurant, because there was never a set recipe. It was like a food of the people. So if you had vegetables that were about to go bad, or you just needed to like make a big meal for everybody, you would just throw in whatever you had in the kitchen, and it would go in and feed just like your whole family for a week.
Now, you say that it's heavy on the vegetables, and I've seen minestrones that now also include pasta. Have you ever seen that? There's like pasta noodles in it too. Is that something that just kind of came about, or is it under that mentality again, like whatever you had left in your pantry or in your fridge, that's kind of what you threw into it?
Yeah, that's you kind of hit it on the head. Like back when sort of the same thing when the Romans took over, they also brought in bread from Greece, and so that replaced like the carb in it, and then so you would eat it with bread, and then eventually when they got pasta, they would just put the pasta in, and it just soaks up the flavor nicely, right? So, but it's not going to be in every single minestrone. Like we don't have pasta in ours, right? So.
No pasta in it. Like if you guys take a peek and you're watching, you'll see that there's definitely some cabbage in here. I did see some bean. There's definitely some celery. We have some carrots in this as well. The soup itself, like, what do you think?
It's really good. I'm a huge fan of minestrone. I guess I'll give you a couple of reasons of why I chose minestrone. So when I was younger and would go to like dentist appointments, orthodontist appointments, things like that, my mom would pick me up and we would go and get whatever the work was done, and then afterwards we would go out and have a minestrone soup. And so it would be like an extra little bit of time I got to skip from school. It'd be like something I get to spend time with my mom one-on-one, and then also there was so that's the first reason I picked it. In the second one I'll get into sort of a little bit later.
Okay. When you would go with your mom, was there a specific place that you would go to have minestrone soup?
Yeah, it was also a family owned and run restaurant, and we would go there all the time with my family just for dinner as well. Like it was a super fun little Italian restaurant. It was like 5 minutes from my house, and so we would go there, and it'd be super warm, super welcoming. Yeah, great minestrone soup.
Are they still around?
That's the second reason that I picked this soup is when I heard we were doing the soups of the world, I was like, oh, perfect, like minestrone, classic Italy soup, and this place that I love. And so when I looked it up, they actually closed. Yeah.
Recently?
No, it was like pre-pandemic. So right after I left for Edmonton in like I guess 2018, 2019, that year they closed, and I had no idea. And so when I came back, I was like, oh yes, I'll get to have that minestrone again. Like it was the best minestrone I've ever had.
You're probably just like, just get the dental work. I don't even care what I'm getting done. Like I don't even need to just go straight to go get the soup. Like where's my dentist appointment and where's my soup?
Yeah. It was, so yeah, that was a blow. Honestly, I was pretty choked when I saw that. And not only because like I said, like this is a super variable soup. Like it's just whatever you have. No minestrone is going to be the same. So I'm never going to be able to have that minestrone again, right? Just based on the history, based on how it came to be. So
would you say that this one tastes similar to the one that you would have after an appointment? No,
totally different, really different. The one that I would have after appointment, I think they used it's like more of a beef broth. This is more like a vegetable broth, and it seems like really vegetable based, but yeah, it was excellent. But then the other thing is that I feel for the family who was running that place, right? Like they put in all that work, and then now it's just gone. Their little shop is gone. So I was gonna use this to just kind of plug people to, go out and support your local favorite eatery, whatever it is. If it's a soup shop, if it's a little Italian family restaurant, whatever it is. Next time you're connecting with family members over Zoom, maybe you can suggest that you eat from your favorite spot, and then you can order it and try and introduce people to new local spots around the city, because that's kind of something that we want to do with the podcast. Food brings people together, and especially with that pandemic, like the pressure on those local businesses is massive. So
honestly, I think it's when you think about how you talked about the history of this soup, and how from even that restaurant that you're talking about that you can constantly think about, and even though it's closed, it's still a minestrone that you're still going to be thinking about years on. That is a reason why we love a dish like this. It hits home. You brought the family aspect to it. There's so much history around soup. And I got to admit, like, this is killer. I don't know what that other soup was prior to, and I wish I could have tasted it. But if you guys are looking right now, like, I'm almost done this bowl of soup. And yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Where again did you get this from?
Garden of Italy in Sunridge, so northeast Calgary.
Cool.
Fortunately, if you're listening in from outside of Calgary, you either have to make the trip here once things open up, or find something in your own hometown to go and get.
No, I go for the first part of, you have to come down here. You got to support the local businesses over here. Like I said, I completely forgot what the restaurant is called, but it's killer. And I can only imagine if their soup is like this, what the other things on that menu is all about too. So yeah, that's wicked.
Yeah. So Tony, just based off of that, do you have any other local shops, local recommendations that you can give? I know you're more of a fan of the exotic soups, the Thai coconut. So maybe we can give them a couple different genres here.
No, for sure. I think if we're gonna stick to the Italian-based type soups, which I think we should, there's a ton of shops that are up and around. So Lena's actually just opened up on 130th. Great grocery store that has all the essentials, but they also do a lot of homemade soups. And then there's a place that's up in Edmonton Trail called Ria's. So REAS, a killer Italian place. I've only heard good things about it. When you had said that you had a minestrone, I thought it was actually going to be from there. But they've been around the block for quite a bit, and that's definitely where I would recommend. So yeah.
Awesome.
Great. This is so good. So good. I wish you guys could taste this. It's so good.
Yeah.
And imagine, just to go off of last week's episode, this is a soup you cannot have cold.
No.
Absolutely not.
No. Definitely not. Has to be warm. I heated it up right prior to this episode. Like I said, I like things boiling hot. And so, yeah.
Cool. Okay.
All right. Do you have any more questions about sort of the history of minestrone in Italy or anything like that?
I think you kind of hit it on the head. You definitely blew my mind a little bit in the fact that it wasn't a beef or chicken based broth. The fact that it started with flour and salt. I'm going to actually try that one day, where I just start off with salt water and see where that flies. Maybe I'll throw in some vegetables in there to see if it just kind of seeps it in, because that's what salt does, right? It amplifies the taste when you sprinkle it on any kind of fruit, right, or vegetable. So yeah, like, that's one thing that I am completely shocked about. I initially thought that I'd be seeing pasta off of this. You think Italian restaurant, and I know that's so bad to say for those Italians that are listening in. You're probably like, shame on you. That is so bad. But there is no pasta in this, which definitely, shame on me to think that was going to be the case. Nothing. And I wouldn't change this. Like, no. I think it would kind of take away from the flavors of the cabbage and, the carrot and the celery that's in there. So, and it has the protein of beans too. So it just kind of hits home. Yeah, I honestly have no other questions other than any other fun facts that you have about it that you weren't able to discuss there.
No, that's pretty much what I had. I was looking around at the last, I guess the last sort of fun fact is like minestrone. The word like in Italian comes from minestra, which literally means soup.
Okay.
So this is like, yeah. And like I said, that polte was like the original sort of soup that they would do, right? It was just the flour in water. And so I thought that was kind of interesting that it was essentially named after like the dish. It's almost like a grandfather of
Yeah.
soups.
So minestrone is the top head of all
Yeah.
soup, and everything else that follows came from this bowl that
Yes.
we're having right now. So that's wicked. Okay. Cool.
All
All
right.
right.
Good. So I guess we'll transition into our quoops, our questions from the troops.
All
We
right.
had a couple to follow up on from our last episode, the debate, which if you haven't seen, you should go check out. It kind of sets the stage for everything we're going to be reviewing, what we consider soups, what we don't consider soups. So if you haven't seen that, definitely go check it out. So Tony, from the last episode, people were wondering if you would consider cereal a soup.
I'm sure just even based on if you're listening in, my silence, or if you're watching my face, no, that's insane. Cereal as a soup just does not exist. I think when we were talking about, you said oatmeal last week, right? Or a couple weeks ago, the oatmeal factor, that's definitely not a soup. So to think that cereal is the same, there's no broth, there's no stock, milk is not either of those. If you add frosted flakes or whatever floats your boat for the day, Fruit Loops, that doesn't turn into a soup. And if you're trying to argue with me and say, oh, well, I let the Fruit Loops marinate in the milk and it turns it into a drink, still, it's a drink, not a soup. So, no, I do not think cereal is a soup. Thoughts?
Absolutely correct. There is no way cereal is a soup. It's not a cold soup. That's just whoever asked that. Please go watch the episode and hear why it is not a soup.
Yes, please.
All right. Question number 2: Slurper Sip.
That's a great question. Okay, I'm taking this bowl that's in front of me right now.
It sounded like a slurp.
It's I think it's more of a slurp, right?
It's a slurp. Mm-hmm.
You don't really. I would say if it's piping hot, and I'm like, man, I really want to taste the broth, then I'll sip. But if I'm at a good temperature where I know I'm not going to burn my lips, it's more of a slurp.
Yeah. For me, it is whatever technique allows me to get the most into my mouth at one time. So engulf, if engulf is an option, that's what it is. Shovel, or I think slurping probably gets you more than sipping. So if I had to pick between those two, it'd be slurping. So yeah, okay. Whatever I can get the most down the quickest.
Okay, cool.
Okay, and then a final question here is: would you be opposed to finding the best pho in Calgary and other regions?
I'm down. Anytime, pho is in the mix, I'm all about it. I actually saw, even in our last episode, that people were saying, hey, you should do something that's regional based. Like, would you try to find the best one in each quadrant of Calgary, or even move away and see what it's like in Edmonton, because you're there for school from time to time? I think that would be wicked. I think that just like minestrone, not all pho is the same, and to kind of see how other families and other variations do it would be wicked. So I'm all for it.
Yep. Yeah, me too. Absolutely. And I've been in Edmonton for the last 2-ish years. Well, I guess about 6 months ago, I was in Edmonton for the last 2 years, but went to pho a number of times with classmates, and yeah, there are some good pho places up there. So we'll definitely have to make a trip. And I love the regional idea. I think that's super fun. Obviously, because we get to try a bunch of pho. So I'm definitely in for that.
Cool. All right, cool.
All right, so that's all we have for today. So if you're signing in, we're going to be back in 2 weeks again, that bi-weekly release date. And so, yeah, thanks for listening. We love soup. We love you guys. Stay soupy, stay safe, and we will see you in a couple weeks.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Bye.